Hello and welcome to another Scoutcast from FFScoutcast.co.uk. My name is Joe.
My name's David.
And my name's Andy.
Well, and there was about to be as well, my name is Az after that, but he's running late. He was travelling back from the depths of Essex all the way to the Highlands of the West Midlands. I don't know if they have any hills there. But we're hoping that he's going to join in at some point a bit later. So he could be at any minute. We'll have an Az attack at some point. But David, meanwhile, what have we got on the show tonight apart from no Az?
Well, not a lot really. No Az, no parties, what they say. No, I'm joking. Obviously, it's been a bit of a while since we've had any action. So if any of you possibly remember, in Game Week 8, there's a lot going on about this guy, Harry Kane. Never heard of him. So we're going to talk about how that played out for all of us, because some very, very different stories there. And then with our community questions, we're going to be looking at one of the best but most ignored players in FPL this season. We're going to be talking about why we're maybe ignoring the assets of one of the best teams statistically over the last couple of weeks. And our talking point takes in a team who are about to embark on an excellent run of fixtures, but feature a troublesome, expensive asset who's been ditched by more than 150,000 FPL managers during the international break. And obviously, as always, we're going to finish off with a look forward to the next game week. We're going to be looking at our top differentials and clean sheet tips. So hopefully, Az gets back in time, because I'm pretty sure he's the lead on that one with all the details on how we got on. And then obviously, we'll be talking about our transfer and captaincy plans for our own teams as well. So yeah.
Okay, well, let's start looking back, if we can remember that far, back to Game Week 8. And it was a tale of the caned and the caneless. And David, back to you. You're top of the pile with 83. What went right?
Well, I mean, basically it came down to captaincy, I think, because I gave it to Hazard. So I didn't go for Kane. So I've been thinking a long time. I've been thinking for a long, long time how I was going to play this. I've known for a while I was going to be top of the pile coming into this episode. I was the one guy that didn't go with Kane. And, Az told me in no uncertain terms on Twitter that I was silly to go without him because I had 2 free transfers. So I can't lie, I'm actually incredibly happy that he blanked. Of course I am, because I was so scared. I mean, everybody was going on about you need a sofa to hide behind because it's Cardiff and he's going to score a hat-trick. And I did think that would happen. So I decided that my best response to what happened with Kane was to say, do you know what? Even I was wrong, because I still thought he would score. That's the thing, is that I thought he's going to score, but it's a short-term thing, so I'll just leave it. So it went better than I could ever imagine, because Cardiff, a lot of people, if you've just seen the highlights on Match of the Day, Joe's going to hate this, but I'm actually going to pay him a compliment. I actually thought they were very good. There was only a few. Largely, they made every tackle they needed to, and kind of made Spurs look really ordinary. And obviously, Ali and Eriksen not being there didn't help, and Kane was deep as well. But yeah, the only thing that maybe could have made it go better was obviously Salah and Aguero were the fall guys for people. They were the people they were moving out to get some money, and as you guys sort of were looking at. And I mean, I was kind of hoping more than anything else that maybe one of them would deliver, because then that would just kind of stick the knife in a little bit more. I don't mean that in rank wise for me, it would have just helped. It would have reinforced the decision to keep them both. But I can't really complain, because the advantage I've got is I only made one of my transfers. A lot of people made 2 to do the switch. So I've still got 2 free transfers coming out of an international game week, where I now have 2 yellow flags on Salah and Fraser. So, I'm really happy with where I am. And then in terms of where all the points came from, I had Doherty, what a guy, 15 points, another double figure haul. Patricio getting bonus again. Cheeky little clean sheet from Robertson, which I didn't really expect. Jimenez coming in again. And yeah, Captain Hazard kind of all topped it off on that Sunday. So yeah, I mean, I think I've gone up something like 60,000 places. So I'm feeling very, very confident, very positive right now, because I think I'm up to 36k. So it's going well.
I like the bit where you said, that yourself, you got it wrong. It was like you've gone beyond the humble brag. That was like a courteous brag.
Oh, seen right through me.
It was a polite brag, and
I was wrong though. I did think you back.
To be honest, I think you should have got extra FPL points for that. Andy, now 71. That's not too bad, considering you captained our good friend Harry Kane.
And I was completely right. I said it was dodgy to purposely look to not captain Hazard, who's man in form. And yeah, we're wrong. I mean, my Kane, Salah out, Kane in plan, it basically evened out to about no gain over the thing. The problem is I captained Kane instead of Hazard. So when you factor that in, it was overall a bad move. Looked good against Huddersfield, but since then it's just gone kind of downhill. So, but yeah, 71 I think for captaining Kane is a pretty decent score. I went from 19k to 13k, so a good green arrow as well, getting close to the top 10k, and pretty much everyone delivered apart from Kane, Aguero, Maddison and Silva. I had similar defence, had a full house of clean sheets. Ryan, as soon as the fixtures turned for Brighton, straight in with a clean sheet finally. Doherty as well, like you've already mentioned, and Alonso and Trippier. Trippier has been great since I got him. Very close to 3 very good scores in a row. Still looking at getting rid of him, mind you, but he's been really good in the time I've had him. So yeah, I'm really happy with that week. Look, Kane captaincy, it went wrong. It is Cardiff at home. I do it every week probably if I had the chance. But he'll be gone soon anyway. So I'll say goodbye. I've got 2 free transfers. My only yellow flag is Ward for Cardiff, who's 3rd on my bench anyway. So I think I'm looking pretty good. I'm happy.
Okay. Well, I wish I could say my game week went as well as that. So I got 61. So not terribly behind, but I was kind of a Matt Ryan in goal behind you there. Captain Kane. I got him in. I got in Trent Alexander-Arnold as well for Robertson. I wanted to free up a bit of money. I just saw that as an opportunity. I'm probably going to regret that move more than getting Kane in. But I just think I quite like having that 1.5 or so million in the bank at some point. And so I got a small red arrow. It was a tough crowd. The 61s, usually quite a good score, but a little red arrow down to about 45k now. But Doherty, Trippier, Alonso, Fraser, and Hazard all got me points there. And I went for Kane. I explained it on the Breakfast Club. I just saw it as an opportunity, and I was kind of banking that Hazard would kind of maybe get a goal or an assist, but Kane would get, because of me banging on about Cardiff, would get like a brace or something like that. And I just saw that as an opportunity, but it didn't work out. Kane let me down, and Cardiff punished me. They've been listening, and they decided to finally defend just when I didn't want them to. So that's quite annoying. But I'm okay with that. But now, if Az was here, he'd be telling you that he got 60 points, so just 1 point behind me. But he didn't make any transfers. Captain Kane as well. Doherty, obviously, is in place there and helped him out a lot. The bad bit, listening to you two and looking at Az's team, is that you're all happy with your transfers coming into a week, game week 9. I really wish I had a couple of transfers, and I also wish I had Aguero already, but I don't. So that is the cost of that Kane move. It was a gamble, and it hasn't paid off, and it's probably going to set me a transfer or so behind the pack, the emerging template.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see too many more 1 week punts from people now. Not after Kane failed. So I mean, like David said, didn't get punished too much by Aguero and co, but it could have gone a lot worse. And I think maybe around double game weeks is a bit different, but I can't see too many more 1 week punts going on now.
Yeah, it definitely could have been different. I think that's part of me why
would get me anything. I just thought with Aguero's not going to get me anything, so I thought that bit was safe, but I thought the other bit was even safer with Kane. But yeah, you're right. It's it's one of those things. When I do these Meet the Manager videos, one of the things that emerges is the patient approach always works. Don't be too short term. I need to listen back to him, I think. But anyway, there's no rough with the smooth this week. It was too far behind, and we thought we're going on a bit too much about game week 8. There's probably lots of.
It's all about Kane, surely.
And it'll all be about Kane as well. We don't want any of that business. So we want to look ahead. We want to look ahead to game week 9 and beyond. So as usual, we're going to address our community questions in the digest style of looking at the key player or players, team or teams, and a talking point as well. So Andy, first up on the player, which player are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Raheem Sterling, 11.1 million currently, 5.7% owned, basically 6 attacking returns in the last 7 games, or in 7 games total this season. He missed one of them. Loads of questions about him. Basically, the gist is that we're overlooking him, even though he's already got an incredible amount of attacking returns. He did exactly the same last year. Doesn't really look like letting up necessarily. So, Tommy G, is Sterling the most overlooked player so far this season? Kick it, Sterling is scoring well. Still not part of the template. Is now the time to be getting him in. FPL Partridge just says, is he a good option or an expensive rotation risk? And then Empty Pockets and Sid kind of bringing in another Man City player here. What effect will Kevin De Bruyne have on the rest of the Man City assets? And is he worth the outlay? So he's come down in price a bit since the start of the season. I think he's 9.7 now. So obviously Man City tend to be good assets. I have to take it, the fixtures-wise, just to bring up now, is Burnley at home, looking a good one, but then it's Spurs away, Southampton at home, then Man United at home. So looking a bit mixed. So we'll start with Joe. What do you think?
Okay, well, I had a look. A good way of looking at Sterling is obviously he's gone up in price. So he's 2.5 or so million more than he was last season, for a lot of last season anyway. So I've compared how he's performing to is he worth that money? Basically, yes, that's the short version. Here's the really long version with some stats. Successful dribbles are up this season. Take-ons are up. He's involved in more goals. His baseline bonus is up. He's getting 10.3 a match this season, just 6.4 last season. That is because his pass completion is up. He's also getting those bonus points for recovering the ball more. His crossing is up. In fact, he's making more than double the number of crosses and creating more chances. He's taking more corners too, 1.3 on average. So he's taking a corner a game or so, compared to pretty much none. So 0.2 a game last season. Penalty area touches are up too. Shots on target are up. The big chances are down at the moment, and shots in the box down as well a little bit. So in short, he's become a better all-round attacking midfielder with more assist potential and still a very strong goal threat. He's basically upped his game as a creator. 18 goals last season, and that's a goal every 144 minutes. 4 goals this season. That's a goal every 148 minutes. So he's matching last season's goal output more or less. 11 assists last season. That was one every 235 minutes. Just 2 assists so far. But that's assist every 296 minutes. But all of those things I've just been reading out suggest that there's going to be more assists for him. So I had a little look at what we're comparing him to others as well. So who you're comparing him with. So for some, you'd be looking at maybe, to get him in, you're probably going to be looking at removing someone like Mane or Salah, or for the few people who've got Sanchez perhaps, or even Sané, who might be more of a rotation risk now. So these are the kind of premium ones, and he's top for chances created amongst all of those lot, and he's doing really well for goal attempts. He's just behind Salah and Hazard, who are the top amongst those group there. So in short, why am I avoiding him? I've got absolutely no idea. I'm awaiting Salah news. We're going to talk in detail about Salah a bit later, but I'd be very tempted to get Sterling in. He's got everything. Yeah.
What about you, David? Any way to get him in? Are you looking at bringing him in at all?
I mean, I was, but I think, to be honest, I think overlooked. I don't know if it's necessarily. I mean, I guess he has been overlooked because he has been a great option, but I can understand why that's happened, because as has just kind of been mentioned there, with what the template has been, it's been a Liverpool attacker, whether that's Salah, Mane, or at the start of the season it was both. Then Aguero was obviously very, very popular from game week 1. The second that we all watched him just take Chelsea apart in the Community Shield, we were all on him. And there was more, or rather less, doubt over his place at the start of the season for Aguero than for Sterling, because obviously Aguero had been involved less at the World Cup. Sterling had been there right until the final weekend. So I understand why he wasn't in at the beginning. And then as the template kind of changed and Hazard came into the conversation a little bit more, obviously every week we've got, the captaincy has been basically between Aguero, Salah and Hazard. And there just hasn't really been room in there for Sterling, because really Aguero had just kind of he'd soaked up that ownership, so people were worried about that. He was more, I think, more assured of a place than Sterling. So I totally get why he's not been looked at, but I was starting to think about him when it became clear that Aguero wasn't playing every week, because you want to still cover that City attack in any way you can. And as Sterling has kind of shown, he's very much an important player there. I was looking at him maybe about 2 weeks ago. But now that we've had the international break and, Aguero, he played 90 minutes in a Champions League match, and obviously Sterling's been heavily involved in the international break as an England fan. I'm very happy with what he's done. But Aguero again has had a rest. And of course, De Bruyne is coming back into the conversation. And if Sterling's been taking on this kind of creative role within the Man City team, is Guardiola going to say, well, if I could maybe give Sterling a rest, let De Bruyne come back in and create some chances, etc. I don't know if I want to be looking at Sterling. I totally get why, but I think it's, whilst what I've got, I'm happy with, in terms of I'm happy with Aguero, I'm happy with Hazard. like Joe's just said there, I think it all comes down to Salah, because I've held on to him for these games, and it's so frustrating that now he gets the yellow flag, and I think it looks like he'll be fine. And if that's the case, then I'm just going to stick with what I've got, because while Sterling's still going to deliver, I think I've got no complaints with what I currently have. I still back them to deliver, so it isn't really worth breaking up the trio of Aguero, Hazard, and Salah to get him. Of course, if Aguero gets an injury, then yeah, I'll have a look at Sterling and maybe downgrade Aguero into another striker. But I just, with the core of that template, if Salah's fine, then I don't know. I think I leave it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Like, I'm just looking at my team now and thinking, how do I get Sterling in? It's basically, do I want him or Salah over the next 4 weeks? And there's no doubting that Sterling has been a great option so far, and he looks like he's going to continue. I mean, 35 attacking returns last season was ridiculous. And I think when it comes to rotation, I said at the start of the season, obviously World Cup played doubts in my mind, and obviously did miss that game at the start of the season. But behind De Bruyne, Sterling only missed one match where he wasn't injured last year. So he was pretty much nailed. Now, obviously, it's a different season now. Mendy's back. They've got Sané, who's rested. He could come in and maybe take his place if Sterling does need a rest. I think he's pretty integral to that team. So I don't see him being rested that enough to put me off buying him. The problem for me is I've got Hazard. He's going nowhere. If you could offer me a switch of Aguero to Sterling right now for free, wouldn't affect my team or transfers, maybe I would take that. But I'm not going to spend a transfer to do it. And I've already taken, or two, or whatever it might take. And I've already taken money out of my defence. So I only have 2 premium defenders. A lot of people are still rocking 3. So I've kind of already shaved off enough money elsewhere that I want to shave off. And I still can't fit him in. So for me, if I look at the next 4 fixtures, if Salah is fit, I will potentially captain him 2 or 3 times in the next 4 fixtures. Whether that's a good idea or not, we'll come on to soon. But I just wouldn't captain Sterling necessarily while I've got Aguero in my team. So it's just a case of not fitting him in. It's not really overlooking him. Yes, I overlooked him at the start of the season because of World Cup. Did that for more than just Sterling. I worried too much about World Cup for a lot of players. But am I overlooking him now? No. But can I fit him in? Also no. And to be honest, De Bruyne kind of fits into the same thing. He's a little bit cheaper, but he's not cheap enough where it's really easy to get him in at 9.7 million. And he's really consistent, and he's like Sterling. He's going to play most games. So I think he's a really good asset. But I don't know, the fixtures don't scream to me jump on Man City players, especially one that's just come back from a long injury. And could easily, just the way Man City play, you'd expect them to win the next 4 games probably. Even the Spurs away and Man United at home, they're going to be in with a really good chance. So they don't necessarily need De Bruyne to win those games. So I don't see why he would just be thrown straight in 90 minutes a game if it's not needed. It could happen. I think he got flogged last season quite a lot. He looked knackered towards the end of the season. He just kept playing every single game. But he doesn't need to be integrated so quickly, which I think is what will put me off. I don't know if you think about Joe. Obviously, we talked about Sterling, but De Bruyne. If there's any
I like De Bruyne as well for all those reasons I mentioned about Sterling. It's because it's that broad range of points. So it's not like you're just relying on goals or just assists or just a bonus magnet. He's a bit of everything, and that's the same with De Bruyne as well. It's a real tough one. I can kind of see the patient approach. I do agree. Salah goes for one of them if Salah was to go, but with De Bruyne. I was just looking at last season because we haven't had a chance really to see him this season. And last season, it was 94 goal attempts amongst Man City players. That was joint top with Aguero, so he's matching him for shots, and he got 8 goals out of that and 16 assists as well. And he created 105 chances. So the next nearest was David Silva with 61. Those kind of stats are just superhuman ones that you have to pay attention to. For the same reason, unfortunately, you also have to pay attention to Aguero's being top for goal attempts over the last 4. And you also have to pay attention to his 50% ownership. And I was reading today on Twitter that it's actually a bit higher because about 1 million FPL managers are no longer FPL managers. They're just completely inactive. So that means that Aguero amongst active members is somewhere around the 52-53% mark. So that says to me his top captain choice is going to have an effective ownership, particularly amongst the top 10,000 of a huge amount. So I think he's a more important player to get in. But it is really frustrating. We're talking about Sterling and De Bruyne, and Sterling in particular this season, he's showing it. And I can't get him in. And it's annoying. People are almost having a go at us. Why aren't you even talking about him? Well, we're talking about him now. So we've come half the way there. Let's move on to the team. So there's a player we've ignored, Sterling. There's a whole blooming team we've ignored as well. So Az was going to be doing this bit, but he's stuck on the M25 somewhere. So I'll do this bit. It's Arsenal. All of us, Az included, do not have an Arsenal player. And yet they've been, as David is going to tell us shortly, an amazing side over the last few game weeks. And once again, like with Sterling, I'm not quite sure why I haven't got Lacazette, why I haven't got Ramsey or Monreal or Bellerin, or why I haven't got something there to tap into the great fixtures they've had and continue to have. So here's some questions. Praz United, Arsenal scoring goals for fun, yet no love from the scouts. Rubbing it in there. Delphin safety. Lacazette has been under the radar, but now we know his potential. Yes, we do. Is he worth getting in? And Luis Lopez, is Lacazette a strong captaincy option in game week 9 when they face Leicester at home, and also for future game weeks? Should he be amongst them? So we're going to go to David first, and I believe Az has just joined us. Az, welcome. Az, welcome. How was your motorway?
Cat dragged in.
Let's not talk about it.
Okay. What we're going to do, so you got time to settle in. We're just talking about Arsenal.
Right.
And David is about to wow us with why none of us have any Arsenal players and make us all feel really bad. So listen to him, and then we'll come to you.
Well, I'll make myself feel bad at first, because I think I've said this before. I've said it on the FPL show as well. It's so frustrating. I had Lacazette for game week 1 because I saw the potential, and he was fantastic over pre-season, and he matched Aubameyang in slightly less minutes. So I thought, yeah, he's going to be the real deal this season. He's going to be the real. And then game week 3, I found out I was wrong, so I sold him. And then game week 4 through 8 and to the future, it turns out I was right all along, and I just didn't stick to my guns.
Such a hipster. That's the most hipster move ever.
It's like double before it was cool. Because I even didn't even back myself to see it through. To answer the question, why haven't we looked at him? I mean, he's always been on my radar, obviously, because I had him, and then the second I sold him, he blew up. So he's been staring at me like, "Why'd you sell me, Dave?" Since game week 3. The reason why is, again, it comes back. It's kind of like what I was saying before. It's the template. With the success of Aguero as the main premium striker, and then I think the reason that I got rid of, like I said, I think was to get Hazard possibly. So then, again, so Hazard's going nowhere. Salah, if he's fit, in my opinion, is kind of going nowhere. And just the way, and obviously defence, that was the other key, was there was so much money being put into defence. I had Mendy, Robertson and Alonso from game week 3. So when you've got that setup, you don't really have room for a second striker who's in that 8 to just under 10 million bracket. Your Vardys and the Lukaku's of old, and obviously now Lacazette. There just isn't really room. And as long as, the way I see it is, my team's done well since I got rid of him, so I don't mind too much. I mean, it's an interesting one because we've been accused that we aren't giving him any love, but he's just one of those options that we have actually been tipping in our differentials. Because we were saying that he is going to do well, but it's just, it always comes with that caveat of, well, how do you get him in? And that's the problem. Outside of Lacazette, Ramsey, he obviously historically has been fantastic, but he was 3 or 4 weeks ago, he was the worst player for them when they were away at Newcastle, and I think some Arsenal fans booed him off when he got subbed. Ozil's had problems as well, and of course where we were all looking at was Mkhitaryan, wasn't it? And because his price was perfect. I mean, effectively, we got James Maddison now at the same kind of price as Mkhitaryan, and that's just a no-brainer. But Mkhitaryan obviously didn't keep his place, and Arsenal were kind of and ahhing, and they weren't keeping clean sheets. So I do get why we've overlooked. I do get why we've overlooked them, because the affordable options, in Mkhitaryan and maybe 1 or 2 of the defenders just weren't delivering, and then the ones that were delivering just didn't fit the mold. So what we're supposed to do. And actually, looking forward now, I don't know if I particularly like the look of their fixtures to get another one of them in. I think Az says quite a lot. You're going to make a lot of wrong decisions maybe in FPL season. Maybe not having Arsenal cover is one of them. But if the rest of your team is still doing fine, then do you need to panic? I don't think so, because I've not had an Arsenal player since game week 3, and I've still been getting the green arrows. So as long as the template's working, I don't think we need to be bailing on what we've got. and jump into Arsenal. In my opinion, I don't know what you guys think.
Well, as I was going to say, as you're back off the motorway, so let's throw you in before we come to Andy and get you now. Yeah, you haven't got any Arsenal players. You got 2 free transfers. Have you got any plans to get any in?
No, I've just got one wild carded.
Oh, you're wild carded. Sorry. So are you tempted to get any of Arsenal players?
I've got a decision to make this week because I've got Kane, who I don't want anymore. For reasons you might have discussed. I don't know if you've talked about Kane at all, but playing too cheap.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about him. Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So the obvious move for me was to go to Aguero, but actually Lacazette is on my radar. I mean, Arsenal scored 19 goals in 7 games, I think. They're still looking a bit shaky at the back, but up, attacking wise, they just look absolutely brilliant. They've got so many options up front. And it looks like Lacazette has really, he's become the kind of focal point for the whole team now. And you talk about historically, the focal point of an Arsenal team has always been, such a good source of points. So I'm pretty tempted, and his price is pretty good. Still under 10 million, saves you $1 million and a bit on Aguero. The fixtures are still relatively good. They got Leicester and then Palace and then Liverpool at home and then Wolves. So they've had this amazing run of fixtures, and they're not getting they're toughening up a little bit, but they're still not getting really bad. So yeah, I'm definitely tempted. I mean, he's the only player in the team that I'd consider. I think Aubameyang's too much money to be paying for someone shifted out wide. Who knows who's going to, Ozil, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan have all got their problems, contracts, or not fitting the system, or just being lazy in the case of Ozil. So I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think Lacazette is such a intriguing option, but I think there's now suddenly such good striker options available everywhere. It's just I can't see someone who's got kind of, I don't know, Mitrovic, Arnautovic, Aguero. I can't see any of those really going for him. Kane seems a fairly logical one, but if you haven't got Aguero, and it kind of prices me out of getting Salah as well. So yeah, I'm very tempted by Lacazette. I think he's great value, and he's really has nailed down that place now. So I think it's a great option.
What about you, Andy? Once again, no Arsenal, but are you tempted? You do have. Am I right here? You've got 2 free transfers.
Yeah, I've got two free transfers.
Yeah. So you could get one in.
Yeah, so I'm basically the same as Az. I'm only really looking at Lacazette. I think if I was on a wild card, I'd be a little bit tempted by Leno, set and forget, 4.8 million. Yes, I didn't actually realise they're the second highest goal scorers this year, team-wise. But 8 of those 19 goals have come against Cardiff and Fulham. So although they're scoring goals for fun, they've only scored more than 2 in 3 games, and 2 of those are Cardiff and Fulham. And I think everyone is scoring against those teams. And they're maybe a little bit fortunate to put 5 past them as well. So I'm looking at Lacazette. But so here's what happened for me is when I looked at doing this transfer, not doing it over the international break, but looking at what I could do, I was 0.1 million off getting Lacazette. So I started looking at other options. And Jamie Vardy is the one that I've been comparing him to. So if you look at their fixtures, obviously they play each other in the next game, so Lacazette's got the better fixture. But over the kind of medium term, I've looked at like the next 7 or 8 fixtures, Leicester's are better than Arsenal's. If you look at the last 6 game weeks where Jamie Vardy missed 2 of those games, Lacazette played in all 6, I think. Vardy's had 7 shots on target versus Lacazette's 8. He's had 14 shots in the box versus Lacazette's 11, so he's beaten him there. He's also having a shot in the box every 24 minutes versus Lacazette's 40. And Lacazette's fixtures are about to stiffen up. In the next 7, they've got Liverpool, Spurs, and Man United. And then even the other teams, Palace away, Wolves at home, are they going to score 3 or more past those teams? I'm not quite sure Arsenal are at that level just yet. The thing that the Lacazette's really got over Vardy is his chances created. And I think we sometimes underestimate that from a striker because getting the odd assist here or there just really bumps up their scores from just the goals. But I'm actually looking at, I can afford both now, so I like that because it means I'm not making a decision just based on money. I think I'm going to go for Vardy instead of Lacazette. I just think it's save a tiny bit of money. The fixtures are better. He's on penalties. He's focal point to that team. Yes, Lacazette's been doing really well. Can't ignore 6 returns in 6. But Arsenal have got other players that can chip in with goals, I think, whereas Leicester may be a little bit lacking in that department. So it's going to have to go through Vardy. So, yeah, I'm looking at getting Vardy instead of Lacazette. So I'm basically looking at getting no Arsenal players. I come on to a translate. I may still go for Lacazette because it's very hard to look past the form.
I think the problem is that if Leicester blanks, you kind of wouldn't be that surprised, and you've got Maddison as well, I guess. Whereas,
yeah, but I do think am I right in saying that Leicester haven't not scored in a game yet this season? Like, I could have that wrong. I'm sure I read that on Twitter the other day, that they've scored in every game. Now, yeah, they might only get one or two. I think Vardy's going to be involved every time, and stats wise, he's pretty much matching him apart from chances created in a lot less minutes as well. So he's very involved. And I just think fixtures-wise, if you look at them, Leicester after Arsenal got West Ham, Cardiff, Burnley, Brighton, Watford, Fulham, and there's no, like, Lacazette scored, I think, all his goals against, I think, 3 teams, and 2 of them, I think, are Fulham and Cardiff, and Vardy's got those soon. I think if you look through who players have scored against this year, it's a lot of it is Brighton. I don't think so, but everyone's looking at Lacazette, so it's a slight one. So I'm going to go a little bit against the grain. Last time I went against the grain, including Vardy, I went for Mitrovic over him, and Vardy scored 12 goals in a row. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But yeah, I'm looking at Vardy and no Arsenal players.
Everything you do turns to gold this season, Andy. Something to follow you.
Fingers crossed. But it's gonna go peak time at some point, so might as well be now with Jamie Vardy. We'll have a party afterwards.
No, listening to Andy, I was just going to say, listening to Andy, I was just really jealous of his 2 free transfers because he's got that luxury. He can.
I will say this is going to cost me a hit. I'll explain at the end.
Okay, but you've still got that luxury of getting in, if just even considering Lacazette. It's like, you know, a lot of the structure of people. But sorry, David, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to add 2 stats that I just I just pulled out just through there because I remembered writing last week. That only 4 teams have had fewer big chances over the last 4 game weeks than Arsenal, and they're Newcastle, Burnley, Huddersfield, and Crystal Palace. So actually, you know, they scored 5 against Fulham, yeah, but I think we could score 5 against Fulham, the 4 of us. And then the other thing is that 27 more players have had more shots on target than Lacazette. So if you're looking for some, you know, people out there look like a nice stat to not go for someone and go for the patient approach, there's plenty there because, yeah. And Vardy obviously feeds very much into that. He's one of those 27, similarly priced, and in a team that's got more, you know, got better fixtures, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I could get Lacazette in because I've got Kane. I don't want Kane. I could get Lacazette in. Aguero at the moment is my top choice. So if something goes awry there, or indeed if there's something wrong with Salah, I'd be tempted to get Sterling, in which case I'd still be tempted to get Lacazette, or indeed Vardy as well. But yeah, good you mentioned that, Dave, because what is holding me back is that whole idea of that goal conversion, that sustainability. So yeah, I mean, Arsenal occupy currently 3 of the top 10 slots for form, according to FPL, and no team has scored more than them in the last 4. It's 11 goals, obviously quite easy opposition. But as I said, they're the 5th worst for shots over the last 4. But so Man City, as a comparison, have scored 10 from 83 attempts there. So, you know, that's the kind of thing you want. You want loads of shots and quite lots of goals. And Arsenal getting loads of goals, but not that many shots. So can they sustain that? Most teams and players, Lacazette and Arsenal, most of them can't. So they're proving incredibly accurate now. But there is a team that did sustain that, and they ended up winning the Premier League, and that was Leicester. Because we kept looking at Vardy and Mahrez' stats, and we think, Mahrez, he's getting an assist every chance. And he kept doing it, and he did it for 38 game weeks. Vardy kept getting, how's he scoring from like 2 shots every match? Just kept doing it. So that's the thing. It's whether you're an optimist or a pessimist here. I'm a slight pessimist in general with FPL. So I think they're not going to sustain it. And I don't think, looking at those fixtures, I think with Liverpool and Tottenham and Manchester United all in the next 7, I think that's going to be tricky for them. I am tempted by Lacazette short term, but then I think of my Kane folly and the short termism of that, and I think that's bad. So I can see why people are going from. And I'm sorry,
you've always vote with him, and then he's just going to carry on scoring. Every year you get that player.
Yeah,
you used to get him in, and he punishes you.
And we had it with Ramsey. Remember Aaron Ramsey? He kept doing it. And Yaya Toure, remember we did the Scoutcast with Mark couldn't believe it. Every week Yaya Toure was scoring, and he was going, I'm not getting him in. And eventually you have to concede, and sometimes it's not till after Christmas. And Lacazette could be that player. So that's I can see why people get him in.
The thing is with Arsenal as well is I don't want to write him off too soon because they obviously had a new manager and stuff who's come in, made them play in a slightly different way. A few new recruits here and there, and obviously they've taken time to embed some of them in. So I don't think they're going to suddenly go off the board because they've got tricky fixtures. They might just be coming into their own, in which case, yes, they probably can't keep these stats up, but maybe they can increase their shot volumes and stuff like that. So I'm not writing Lacazette off completely. I just think that Jamie Vardy is a good side option, I think.
Okay, well, if we're going to afford and get any of these players in, we've got to have a look at their talking point, which is looking really at Liverpool. And we've got lots of things to discuss there, because it's not just looking at a team. It's also looking at team structure, because Salah is taking up 12 point whatever of our team. But David, we're going to talk, our talking points is Liverpool. Please introduce it for us.
Yeah, so obviously we're in a quandary right now because, of course, Liverpool have some great fixtures, but over the last couple of weeks, they haven't looked offensively too great. We've got a yellow flag on Salah. We've got a yellow flag on Mane. And there's, I think, even one now on Keita as well. So we've got lots of questions coming in about how to handle that. We've got a team that was excellent when they played poor opposition in the beginning of the season, about to play poor opposition now, but people don't really know where to go with it. So Saul Goodman says, which Liverpool assets are worth owning for this good run? General Zod says, what to do with the Salah cash for those who are willing to jettison him? Could he spark a change of team structure, possibly heavier up top or at the back? And Marco Juvonen says, who are the best three choices for Liverpool? The early season Robertson, Mane and Salah trio, or a different three? Or should we even be considering a defensive double-up instead of an offensive one if we're worried about their attacking options? So let's go to you first, Az, get you jumping in the deep end with this one. Yeah, so I've just got Robertson, and I was always going to go without any kind of attacker for the next, well, definitely Huddersfield, and potentially get one back in for Cardiff. Can you hear me all right now, by the way?
Yeah, it's gone a little bit echoey, but we'll make do.
A little bit echoey. Okay, that's weird. I don't know why. So yeah, it's one of those ones where a lot of people are quoting the phrase "form follows fixtures" at the moment, and we've kind of proved with Kane a little bit, and Hazard as well. So when the fixtures turn, that's when hopefully these players start really performing. But I still haven't seen enough from Liverpool's attack in the last month to really suggest that they're going to score bucket loads of goals. So I've got Sterling, and I'm much happier with him at home to Burnley than I would be either a fit Salah or Mane away at Huddersfield, which a few weeks ago would have been completely crazy. But I'm happy with that. And if you think you go for Sterling and you've got 1.9 million in the bank, that's enabled me to get a front three of Arnautovic, Mitrovic, and Aguero as well, and have Hazard, and have Robertson and Alonso. So I feel like my team is looking really strong without Salah. And really, I don't think he's the captain that I'd want this week. It's just next week. It's that Cardiff game that really makes me nervous, because that is the game where I feel like anyone could score really heavily. But for this week, at least, with all the uncertainty around Liverpool's injuries and their lack of form, and some good fixtures, for other players, I'm quite unhappy without any Liverpool attackers. And you can remind me of that next week when Salah and Mane go absolutely crazy after they shake off their injuries. But no, I'm relatively happy at the moment. Yeah, there's definitely stats to back you up on that. I mean, so goal attempts in the first 4 game weeks, Liverpool ranked 4th. They're now 13th between game weeks 5 to 8. Shots in the box, they've dropped from 2nd to 7th. Shots on target, they dropped from 3rd to 9th. Big chances total, they've dropped from 4th to 10th, and then they've stayed level at 7th for goal conversion. So there's definitely been a huge drop off there. I guess the counter argument, I suppose, is they did play Chelsea and they did play Man City. I mean, do we think that
and Spurs?
And Spurs, yeah, exactly. So there's 3 fixtures there where Klopp, I think, is a more mature manager now. I think he's more prepared to play a defensive, not style of football, but not jeopardize the defensive shape with the attacking play against the big teams. I mean, but then when it's Huddersfield, do you think that could change back? Do you think maybe, Andy?
Yes, absolutely. I think too much is being made of a drop in form, playing 3 top 6 sides. 2 of which are Chelsea and Man City, who are probably the second and third best team in the top 3 along with Liverpool. I think this season, the way Chelsea have been playing. So I don't know. Maybe it's just too simple, but people were fine to carry him, and he had hard fixtures and he blanked. Not necessarily surprising. Okay, yes, he did well last year in some of those games. I think he scored 2 past Spurs, for example. But at the end of the day, they were tough games. They couldn't be expecting too many points. He's now not got points because they were tough fixtures, and now he's out of form. We're getting rid of him before teams which have conceded loads of goals, Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Fulham. Like, it's just crazy for me. I think in Az's position, yeah, that's fair enough. Sterling over Salah this week. He's got the home game, Burnley. That's fine. I've even looked at captaining him this week. Until he got that injury midweek, I was looking at captaining him ahead of Aguero. Yeah, and I still might do that. I still may do that. We'll see.
The worry is, though, he's had chances and just hasn't taken them. It's not like Liverpool have been really defensive.
He's blanked quite a few times this season, 4 times, I think. But again, 3 of them were against those top 6 sides. Is he going to keep blanking against Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Fulham? I would bet no. And I definitely... I'm probably not as for him as I was, because the other problem with him is we know he's bad for bonus points. You saw Hazard, as soon as he got that second return, it was 3 bonus, easy. Exactly, yeah, he needs 2 goals. Even a goal and assist, I wouldn't be 100% confident with him, whereas as soon as Hazard gets that, you just don't see him anymore. He's top of the bonus, and that's kind of it. So that is frustrating. But the thing with me is I've got rid of him once this season now, so I feel like I've done that. I've gotten over that fact of not having him in my team, and I'll do that again if I have to. I don't feel like I have to have him in my team. A lot of times, people keep telling me he's not worth 12.8 million. You can do so much with that, and they're right. And I'll maybe do that later on when he doesn't have four fixtures, which include Cardiff, Fulham, and Huddersfield. And I just can't look past that. And the only thing which I'll say, which I said when we brought Kane in, is it does mean if I'm captaining 2 or 3 times, I'm not captaining Hazard, who is in fantastic form. And he doesn't have as good fixtures, but they're not bad in those game weeks. So I could get punished again. But I just can't help but look, they were really good. They were really high for goal attempts when they had easy fixtures. Then they weren't. They had tough fixtures. Now they got easy fixtures. I mean, that might be a simple way of looking at it, but sometimes this is a simple game and you get the players in who've got rubbish teams to play against, and it'll click. But obviously, Mane may be injured.
Shaqiri, though, could come in, take his slot easily, right? If Salah's fit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he could come in. I think Shaqiri's like a good squad player. He's not going to be as good as Mane and Salah, but again, there's just such poor teams. I just don't see how they don't start getting those shots up and those goals up. And I've even looked, I mentioned just a minute ago about getting Vardy instead of Lacazette. I've even looked at potentially getting Firmino in, because I think even he could do something against these teams. Granted, the Sturridge factor is a bit of a play on my mind for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe it's too simple, but they got really good teams to play against, and Salah's a great player and he's had chances, and I just don't think he's not going to put these chances away for the rest of the season. So I'm going to bet on him doing well for the next 4.
What do you think, Joe?
I'm back.
Hello, yeah, I'm back. I don't know what's going on. We've had a few technical issues. As keeps
I'm still here, by the way.
Out. Andy David is still here.
Andy's the only one who hasn't dropped out at some point.
I just miraculously dropped out,
we sold you for Sterling. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm back now. So yeah, I mean, I think this is so important because it's not just players. It's all about formation, and every one of us has taken Salah out and thought, where are we going to spend that money? And I really want to spend that money. But also, what do you want Salah? Because he's playing some really nice fixtures: Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Fulham. That's just too enticing. I did say that about Kane, but Kane didn't have those 3, within a 4-game block as well. So for me, if Salah's fit and ready for action, I'm going to be. I'm keeping him, basically. If Salah's looking like he's out for that Huddersfield game and a bit dodgy for Cardiff, then he's gone. So I'm waiting on press news there. Mane, I'm just not interested in. He just doesn't stack up against other comparably priced mids. I think that it sounds like he's got some injury to his thumb or something.
Yeah, he's potentially broken his thumb. We're kind of still waiting on a bit more from Liverpool. I think the some X-ray leaked, but no one really knows if that's legit yet. He's definitely got some kind of injury, but we don't know if it's actually broken. Oh. And as Roy Keane would probably say, you don't run with your hand, so maybe it'll be all right.
Yeah, so he could be all right. I remember Vardy doing a similar thing. He just came on, just kept scoring. But I mean, say he's ready to go. Last 4 game weeks, chances created: Raheem Sterling 11, Mane 3. That's rubbish. And goal attempts, he's just behind him there, but he's not offering that sort of mix there. He's not comparing well with those types of players, really. So I'd prefer to spend a little bit more on Salah. But the back, so I've already done Robertson to Alexander-Arnold. In terms of Liverpool players there, I like having that 1.5 save. That means I could get maybe Arnautovic in if his knee problems get fixed.
Doesn't worry you a bit with rotation now?
No. What Arnautovic or Alexander-Arnold?
Alexander-Arnold?
No, because that game, it was because it was a tricky game, I believe. It was because it was a tough game with against Manchester City. So I thought Gomez would probably come in there. But I think Alexander-Arnold has to be preferred really for the easier games. And that's when you want him, really.
He's an attacking player, isn't he? That's what
he's an attacking player. So I'm not too bothered about him being rotated for those tougher games. I mean, I might be wrong. If it looks like he's going to keep getting rotated and favoured in Champions League, then I'll do that.